Hi, I'm Tracy Sofra. Welcome to the Women of Wealth podcast, dedicated to helping women achieve financial independence and thrive in every area of her life. My question to you today is this: are you taking care of yourself? This is a very important, pertinent question, and chances are nobody's really asking you that, and chances are you're not even thinking about it. But given today's speed of life and the juggling of dozens of responsibilities that we have as women, putting yourself last on the list is often something we are all guilty of, are we not? So I really just want you to stop while you listen to me on this particular episode of our Women of Wealth podcast and really ask yourself, are you taking care of yourself? And what are the consequences of not doing this? I can vouch for this, being a bit of an old girl, spending years and years and years of prioritising everything else and everyone else over and above myself can be taxing, and there has to come a time where you kind of have to put a line in the sand and say, you know what, that's just not going to fly anymore. I've really got to start looking after myself. So it is time to leave the self-neglect behind and focus on investing in yourself and really valuing yourself. That concept there was even tough for me to kind of sit with and digest, but I've got to share this with you. It is so important. So if you're wondering where to start, I've got a few ideas I want to share with you in this podcast to start investing in yourself so you can feel great and be successful, whatever that looks like for you, and really, truly live your best life. So let me start by sharing a few ideas with you. So the first idea I want to share with you is to be intentional about managing your money. Of course, I'm going to mention money, right? This is the Women of Wealth podcast. And let's be honest, life is easier when you know how much money is coming in and how much money is going out. How do you live intentionally? How do you look after yourself? How do you plan for the future if you have no idea what is happening with your money? So this is obviously the very first priority on top of the list of looking after yourself and looking after yourself financially. When you manage your money well, you can meet all of your needs and you can have money left over to enjoy yourself. And remember, I always talk about your future self, that person that's going to meet you at the end of the road, and you don't want her to be pissed off because she's going to say, what have you done with all the money, Trace? And I do want you to picture that because images in your mind. I found that over the years, everything I had to actually, let me share this with you. I was, if you're much like me and you're driving to work or doing your usual day-to-day and you ponder and you reflect as you're driving, I did think a couple of weeks ago, everything that I visualised and thought about is exactly what I have right now. So never underestimate the power of visualisation. And visualizing what you want, where you want to be, what does that look like, and picture that in your mind's eye, because your subconscious mind doesn't actually know the difference between reality and fantasy. So in a way, it subconsciously kind of pushes you in that direction. So every decision you make, everything you analyze, and every step you sort of take gets you closer to that vision. So visualize that, and what does that look like? Visualize yourself now and into the future, and make sure you're doing right by both. How do you do that? Yeah, it's a juggling act. I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy. It is easy if you are on top of it. So you can't kind of just let it go and let it ride. It's just not going to fly like that. You have to be intentional, and you have to make sure that, again, coming back to your money, what's coming in and what's going out. And one of the best ways of doing that, as you know, what's the next word? Budget. I don't like the word budget. Creates all sorts of talk about images coming up in your mind when you're talking about budgets. It doesn't feel good, does it? It doesn't even feel good inside when I speak about it. So, I've renamed it for creative purposes. I've renamed it cash flow analysis, and all that means it does the same job, and all that means is what is coming in and out of my little kitty. Because depending on, the payment cycle that you're on, is it monthly, is it fortnightly? Most people are fortnightly. Money comes in, money goes out. What are you left with? So the key is finding a cash flow template that works for you, and you need to know exactly what it's doing for you. So find something that works for you, find something that's easy to use, and if it is easy to use, you're highly likely to actually do that because, again, life is busy and we need things that don't stop us from doing things. We need things to make our lives a lot easier. So cash flow analysis, well, in our financial confidence program, which is our high-touch personalised program that we have at WOW, we have a cash flow analysis that we share with all of our members, and it is a cracking cash flow analysis. Why? Well, it splits your money into 3 buckets, and this really, well, not really, this comes from my experience and what I do with my own cash flow analysis, and therefore wanted to share it with every single woman that wanted to listen to me and follow in my footsteps. So you've got to think of the bills. You've obviously got to pay bills, but then you've got to have a bit of fun. So that's the here and now girl, and then you want to invest. So you've got to have an investment bucket that is for the future self girl waiting for you. So visualize that. You need your bills bucket, you need your fun bucket, and then you need your investment bucket. And you've got to stay all over that all of the time. It's not magical. It's what's magic is your ability to manage that, to keep on top of that, and to keep tweaking and realigning and reassessing and going again. It's money is a lifelong journey, so it's something you're going to have to be all over all of the time. The second one I want to share with you is start a side hustle, right? A side hustle is anything that you do outside of your day job. And side hustles can be as simple as dog walking to becoming a virtual assistant to someone. And it doesn't have to be tough to start a side hustle. These days, particularly with the power of the internet, we've got that power in our hands. I mean, all you have to do is have a laptop and an internet connection and you're in business these days. You don't need a shop front. You don't need to employ people. The traditional business is something that is being quite challenged at the moment. So realise the potential that is in your hot little hands and have a look and try and think 3D. Here are some side hustles to consider that I want to share with you. Driving, Uber. I got here today with an Uber, right? That puts a lot of power back into people's hands. Dog walking or pet sitting, a lot of people are travelling a lot and a lot more people have got pets, and they always have had, but they value their pets. You can do freelance writing. You can offer your skills as services that you already have. Never underestimate the skills that you already possess. It could be like coding or graphic design. You could be teaching English online. Again, the power of the internet. You could teach English online to people over in Japan, for example. There are websites like Etsy, so you can start making and selling crafts, things that you're great at that you never even thought of doing. You could start doing that at markets, and then you could get online with Etsy. You could even create your own website. You know, these are all the possibilities that are there, but it requires you to think 3D and think outside the box. And in our other program, which is we have a membership program called the 12 Pillars of Prosperity, we show you how to look at all the different ways of side hustles, and we dive in deep into that particular topic in one of our pillars in the 12 Pillars of Prosperity. So there's a lot more information in there that we share with our members. Idea number 3, invest in your education. You know that this is at the heart and soul of everything that I do. This is the absolute one of the number one values that I love and possess. Knowledge is power. You can never know too much, and you'll never be sorry that you've dedicated yourself to learning more. Here are some avenues. Now, some are harder than others. Obviously, you can go down the formal route, which is getting your degree, bachelor's degree or master's degree. You can upskill yourself. If you've got a bachelor's degree and you need a master's to do something else, you could go down that pathway. There's all sorts of things. Again, with the internet and with the ability of doing things online, having access to education, there's no excuse because it's all there now. There's universities online now. When it was time for me to go to university, I came from a country town. I had to actually leave home. Now you don't even have to leave home. I mean, you don't even have to get in a car and go to the uni that's in your particular capital city. You just get online, you can do that. So there's online certifications. There's informal courses such as coding, e-commerce, public speaking, all sorts of things that are available to you. Think outside the box. Here's one that most people probably don't think about. Get a life or business coach. Now, it may surprise you that nearly almost every successful person that you know, they have their own mentor or coach. They need it too, right? Just because they're successful doesn't mean they know everything. It doesn't mean that they're not human and require someone to keep them on track. It's absolutely true. Working with a coach can help you focus on what matters most. It kind of grounds you and brings you back. Whether that means mapping out your career goals or working through difficult issues at work, it's having that sounding board with someone that you respect, someone that has gone down that pathway before you. And they can work through all of these with you, and they can help you figure out your next steps or your next career move. And coaches can tailor their sessions to your exact needs because it's a one-on-one. So that can be very, very powerful, and it gets you out of your own head. A lot of the time, when you're trying to solve problems yourself, and you think to yourself, "Well, I got this. I can do this." A lot of the time, you just don't know what you don't know. I heard that a long time ago and I thought, oh, wow, isn't that powerful? That's so true. You don't know what you don't know. And other people have different perspectives. And these life coaches or mentors that have gone before you down a pathway that you're going down, there's so much gold in that. Why wouldn't you make use of that? Tip number 5, save money for your future. Of course, I was going to put this in, as I've mentioned before, about the future self. We never know what the future holds, do we? No. Did we know a pandemic was coming? Did we know that Trump was going to get in? Did we know that all of life's current state of affairs was going to happen? No, we didn't know. And particularly, when COVID did come, if you didn't have a bit of a cash cushion and you couldn't go to work and you lost your job, and if you were in retail, what did you then do? So life does throw curveballs. It's important to be prepared. So save for your future. Be prepared at moments that are the most important. Make sure, how do you do that? Remember, paying yourself first. So in that cash flow analysis that I was talking about, paying yourself first is that investment bucket, minimum 10 to 30%. Direct debit happens every week, fortnight, month, whatever it is, whatever your pay cycle is. Don't leave it to chance. Don't leave it up to yourself because you won't do it. Something will come up every single time that needs to be done that seems to be more important than you are. But there is nothing more important than you and your security and looking after your future. So 10 to 15% is always, 10 to 30% is always a really, really good rule of thumb. Start small, start with baby steps and see the magic happen. You would be amazed. It's quite extraordinary. Tip number 6, expand your mind by reading. Now, isn't this an interesting one? It doesn't take much to read, and it doesn't take much these days to buy a book or get on Kindle, whatever you like doing. I'm very tactile and I love books. So I love buying books because I love building my library of books. And it is mind-blowing that something as simple as reading can help you progress and open your mind, and it returns, like the return on that investment is tenfold, right? If you're looking for a return on investment, reading is the best way really to expose yourself to new trends and ways of thinking. Traveling is another one. Traveling costs a little bit more than reading, but it is about getting you to think outside the box, to read different things that challenge the way that you think, that open your mind to new ideas, that get you to say, oh, wow, let me just read that sentence again. I never thought of that. That's really blown my mind, and have that aha moment. Reading is critical. I find personally, I'm reading probably 3 or 4 books at a time, which is probably not the best idea. But what I wish I could do was just suck them into my brain and go, and I could read them faster, because there's so many different books that I love and want to read and do consecutively. So I can certainly vouch for expanding your mind by reading. It is life-changing, without a doubt. Here's one that is obviously more important these days than it ever was when I was a kid, but investing in your physical health. If you've ever had a physical health crisis of some sort that has stopped you in your tracks, where you've gone, oh my God, how has this happened to me? How did I get here? Then you've had that scare where you almost think, I never want this to happen again. So if that fear hasn't jolted you into being really serious about your physical health, I'm not sure what else will. I had that sort of scare 10 years ago where I did my back and I couldn't work, I couldn't walk, I couldn't go to work, I couldn't do anything for 8 weeks. And I was in disbelief. How did this happen to me? Well, it does. And ever since then, and it wasn't that I was not looking after myself physically. Unfortunately, the back does tend to give way, but it was a very sobering episode that made me think of every other possibility that could come my way if I don't get really serious about my physical health. And you only get one body, do you not? There's no spare parts here. Not like cars, you can't go and get a spare part. So make the most of it. Take on healthy habits such as, now, exercise. We were chatting about this last night with my husband, and he was talking about someone that he had either read about or heard, and that said, after the age of 50, you should be working out every day. Well, and I said, look, I'm sorry, that's just not going to fly. I don't have time to do that every day. Give me something that's actually realistic and realistic that I can actually do, and I might listen to you, was my comment back to my husband. So exercise just has to be intentional movement. Just move, right? Sitting is the new smoking, they say. Particularly in my profession, accounting, financial planning, I could sit for hours on end. So it's really, really important to be able to get up, walk, go to the toilet, go and get a glass of water, go and get a cup of coffee. But intentional movement, take the stairs. I know you've heard all of this. I have too. But it's true. Intentional movement, intentionally move. Do something. Do something that will work for you. Don't go for broke every single day. I'm not sure anyone can actually do that every single day. It feels quite, maybe I'm wrong. But in my personal life, I need to do something that's actually realistic and that I can implement and make sure that it works for me in my life. So whatever works for you, do what works for you. Try not to be so sidetracked by you have to do or you should be, or there's always some new fad coming out of what you should be and you have to do and all this sort of stuff to meet some sort of criteria. Do what works for you, okay? Do what works for you, but the pivotal word here is do. So I do Pilates personally. I do yoga. I don't do it well. It's really, really hard, but it gets easier over time, but it's still very, very challenging. Meditation is something I'm looking at expanding a little bit. It takes time. You've really got to take time out. But again, meditation can be as little as 5 minutes. Yeah. And so when we talk about these things, most people tend to think, if you're anything like me, that you've got to go, you've got to meditate for an hour or you've got to do it for half an hour. No, you don't. You don't have to do any of that. You can start with 5 minutes. 5 minutes is better than what you were doing, which was nothing. Yeah. So quieten the mind, take some quiet space, focus on your breathing. Take 5 minutes out of the day. That's not going to break the bank, is it? And one final one, spend time in nature. How beautiful does that feel? When's the last time you took your shoes off and really rubbed your feet in some grass, or laid back on grass and looked up at the sky for a moment or two, or 5 or 10 minutes. When was the last time you did that? When's the last time you put your feet in the sand and that really cold, crisp water coming in from the ocean and you go, oh my God, it's so cold. And then, a couple of minutes later, it's like, oh no, it's not so bad because, your feet climatise. The sun on your face, the feel of being in the bush, if you like going into the bush or rainforest type scenarios, or the trickling of water down a stream. Spend time in nature. We are part of nature. Unfortunately, we sit in front of screens all day, which isn't the best thing for us. But exercise, yoga, meditation, spend time in nature, all of those things will be sensational and totally change. It'll reduce your blood pressure, that's for sure. Tip number 8, build healthy relationships. This is a biggie, right? We are social beings. We are social creatures. We are designed to connect. If you've read Brené Brown, and I've read a lot of Brené Brown, she does talk about the fact that we are here to connect with each other. And it's at our very core, and we live longer. We know the stats and all that sort of stuff, that people who are more social and connected to communities and family members and are loved and are hugged and all of that sort of stuff live longer than people who are in solitude. So people need people to be happy and successful, without a doubt. So invest in building and maintaining those close relationships in your life is super important. Don't take for granted the people around you. I know we all do, and we're all guilty of that, but stop and realise that you need to put time into that as well. We tend to put time into all the other external things that we think are going to create success, but the true success are the people that we love and the strong relationships and the bonds that we've built with them. So here's a question for you. Who are you spending the most time with? Is it the people you love? We know that 9 times out of 10 we spend more time at work than we do with our loved ones. Are they these people that you're spending the most time with? Do they lift you up or do they bring you down? Don't take it if they're bringing you down, particularly if they're not family. You can get rid of them quite easily. Make sure you surround yourself with the people who see and appreciate your value. You must first value yourself, though. Remember that. You need to value yourself and hang with the people that love and appreciate your value. And that really requires you to sit in a quiet space and really ponder that last bit that I just mentioned to you. You must value yourself first. And finally, I want you to try new things. Yeah, try new things. And this is a bit of a challenge for the comfort zone, is it not? Growth happens most often, and you know this, and I know this through life experience, when we do things and we have new experiences. That's on the other side of growth, is stretching ourselves, doing the uncomfortable things, doing different things that you think. Let me explain from a personal point of view. I think I know myself really well until I don't. And you get older and older and older and you think, yeah, I know who I am. That's just not for me. No, that's just not for me. Until you're in a situation where you kind of go, okay, let's just give this a go. And you think, oh my God, I love that. What was I thinking? So, self-discovery, understanding who you are by stretching yourself a little bit more, trying different things. It really is the spice of life. Get out of your comfort zone and try something new, right? Other than bungee jumping. Like, I'm scared of heights. Like, if I did that, I'd probably have a heart attack in the air. But, that's an extreme case, right? Consider trying, this is going to sound lame, a new recipe maybe. Stop eating the same stuff all the time. Try something different. See whether you like it. See whether it works. So many people say, I don't eat mushrooms, or I don't eat this, or I don't eat that. Why? Maybe you haven't had it the right way. I don't know. Tackle a crossword puzzle, which, you might have thought, no, I'm not smart enough for that, or I really can't tackle that. Try something new. Or hitting up a new coffee shop. That's probably something I would do. You know how we're creatures of habit and we always go and do the same things all the time, and it feels comfortable, it feels familiar, so we just do that and it makes life easy. Try something new. You'd be surprised, yeah? Anything new is good. I'm just going to say that. No matter how you choose to invest in yourself, know this. that taking care of yourself and investing in your personal growth is one of the greatest things you can do for your future self. Personal growth is on the highest, one of the highest values of my list. Personal growth is incredibly important, and I don't accept when people say, oh, this is just the way I am. And I kind of think, really? So you don't want to change, you don't want to evolve, you don't want to grow, you don't want to develop, you don't want to give yourself the opportunity, you think you're not worth the time, energy and space to do that? That's just a cop-out. You can do whatever you set your mind to. I firmly believe that about every single individual. It really is about challenging this, which is, I'm pointing to my head. It's really about challenging the mindset. If you think you can, if you think you can't, you're probably right, is what Henry Ford said. So whatever you talk yourself into is what's going to happen. If anything that I've spoken about and any one of those tips excites you and you're interested in exploring more, then make sure to book a call with one of our strategists, our Wow Women. Simply go to wowwomen.com.au, click the link to our programs, and best of all, the strategy call is free, obviously. If you found today's episode really helpful and you liked a few of the tips and you want to share it with your girlfriends, please share it with a friend, leave a review, and please don't forget to subscribe as well so you never miss an episode. Until next time, take control of your wealth and your future.